Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first live interactive episode of the Marketing Companion. And of course, I am Mark Schaefer. This is Tom Webster. What airport are you in?
I am in Chicago's O'Hare Airport celebrating 50 years of electricity.
And I gotta say, I'm a little unnerved because I'm doing a podcast and I'm actually seeing Tom Webster's face. And
and the handsomeness.
I think unnerved is the right word.
There's so much handsome coming right through the camera.
Yeah, I wish we could all see this on a podcast. So what we're going to do today is we're going to invite some of our listeners to check in and talk to us and ask questions and pick which one of us they like the best, and just give us some feedback and ask some questions. We're here just to open up the mic today. It's open mic day here in the Marketing Companion.
Open mic day. That would start with a poetry slam.
Okay, you start. this is and Blab. It's kind of like the Brady Bunch in a way.
Yep.
So we got Susan on here, and we got Michael. Yeah, and we got Michael Stelzner coming in, one of my favorite men. And I'd like to say something about this technology. And I've been experimenting with this a little bit. I've been attending Blabs, and this is the most interesting technology to me since Twitter. I really think it has that much potential. And I am not a person that normally goes out on a limb, but I think this really, one of the things everybody's looking for is the next Facebook, right? Or the next LinkedIn. Well, we don't need another Facebook. And we don't need another LinkedIn. We already have one. It works fine. Thank you very much. So to win in this technology platform field, you've got to find something new. You've got to solve a unique problem. And we've seen this momentum building with Meerkat and then Periscope, this live streaming video. And it's been clunky, and it's been a little uncomfortable for me because I'm not the kind of guy to stick a camera in front of my face and say, hey, it's me, it's me, it's me. I like this. I like creating the conversations, the interaction. And I had a really interesting conversation this morning, and they said, Mark, we really love your book, The Content Code. And the most impactful chapter to me was this idea of the alpha audience, the people who are your greatest fans. Is this a way to find those people? I thought, you know what? I think that you are really onto something cool. So I'm a big fan, and I know Mr. Stelzner doing the Brady Bunch thing here. You are a huge fan. You mentioned yesterday, I saw you, man. You said you're addicted.
So
look at Stelzner with the professional mic there, calling all sailors and ships at sea.
Well,
hello today.
Yes.
I'm with you. I think this is the true manifestation of social media, is what I've been telling people, because this is what social is all about, right? This is unlike Periscope and Meerkat, which is all about. And by the way, if you have headsets, you should plug it in. It'll definitely reduce any feedback. The benefit to this platform is it is truly interactive. This is no different than me hanging out with Tom and Ann Hanley over a beer, which we did in an airport somewhere in the middle of the country. And except the fact that we're able to do it remotely. And I think that's what's really awesome about this is a way that you can connect with your audience anywhere. The fact that Tom is in the airport, Mark, could you have done your podcast, or done a show with him in the airport? Probably not, but now you can.
Depends if he's drinking or not.
That's a big if. But what I most enjoy about this technology is the virtual real estate tour that Susan Byer has just given us.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
It's been a real
This is my first Blab. This is my first to see a Blab or to participate in a Blab, either one. And, like anything else, sort of getting used to a new approach is interesting, but couldn't resist talking to you guys. I think it's fascinating to be able to have a discussion like this, right? Like I know, Mark, you're talking about alpha audience and stuff. I'm building something new on my side of the house, and it's interesting to me to be able to converse with people who aren't necessarily alpha audience, but could become that. Like, I think that interaction, that ability to sort of have a discussion that's not just one-on-one, but a little group, is really interesting. So I'm excited to kind of experience my first one with you, visionary, high-tech, capable people.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Are others too?
Whatever you did, start some feedback.
I don't know what it is, but I can check off and just watch if that's easier.
Yeah, it might be you.
All right.
I'm gonna play you.
I am the great and powerful Oz.
You know, Mark, what's really awesome about this platform is you can just kind of create a show out of nothing. And I've seen a lot of people come back that used to be podcasters.
What's new about that? Have you listened to our podcast?
Our show has been about nothing since it began, Mike.
We are the Seinfeld of podcasts, my friend.
Lord.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's show them how it's done, Tom.
I'm sorry, I was watching a cat video.
I think you need to get much more serious on your show.
This is a serious podcast for serious people. We remind people of that all the time.
Very serious.
Well, I just wanted to jump in because I don't think I've seen the two of you guys on Blab. I'm very excited that you're here, and I'm very excited to hear that you think this technology is pretty awesome. I mean, most people, by the way, I've talked to the CTO and the CEO of this company, and I've also seen the guy that's the money behind the company, and there's hundreds of millions of dollars behind this company, just so you all know. And this company is really all about creating something that is sticky. And they've said the average new user spends 1 hour on Blab. And I just did a Blab a few minutes before you guys did. And the person that was on my Blab said she'd been on Blab already for 2 hours and she can't let go of it. So wow. I think you don't get that with Twitter and Facebook, you know, and I think that's what's unique about this is the ability to create some amazing content that's live.
Well, I've been thinking that through too, Mike, and in fact, I've got a whiteboard over here. I don't know if you can see it, but really kind of just thinking of some new ideas. And I would like to remind everyone, if you just joined, that we are recording this. So if you get in the hot seat here, you could be on a future episode of the Marketing Companion. We're trying to, we'll see how it goes. And also, if you could hit that little blue button to tell people on Twitter that this is going on right now, that would be great. And I would like to welcome Jennifer Lehner. Jennifer, nice to see you. You've been a long time follower of the blog and the podcast. Do you have a comment or a question for us today?
I'm giving like a big hug to you and to Tom and hey Michael. I am so excited because I give your book to everybody, the Tao of Twitter, and I think this is just
that's not Tom's book.
No, your book.
Yeah, just to be in the sake of clarity.
Yeah, no, Mark W. Schaefer. Like I know how to spell your name with one F and everything. Like I type it all the time. So
he's the pretty one.
Anyway, this is just it's such the perfect place for you because everything that you talk about in your Twitter presentations and in your book about like human connection. I was in a Blab just before this with someone from Portugal and then Ireland and Singapore. And so we're connecting like the way we always did on Twitter, but now there's like a human face and a human voice. And then meanwhile, there's like blabathon.org is happening right now where someone started a fundraiser to raise money for a computer for someone in the Blab community, a 14-year-old boy who needs a new computer. That's blabathon.org. And it's like a real amazing, vibrant, dynamic, living, breathing community where the people who own the platform are so involved and they're really nimble right now. And there's new changes every day. And I'm sure you know all this, but I'm just so excited to see you both here because I listened to your podcast and I just think this is going to be better than your podcast.
Uh-oh. Well, we go ahead.
I don't know that it's going to be better than our podcast because, our podcast is so well rehearsed and scripted and is so well produced. Usually
the word is refined.
Refined, like sugar. I I don't know. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying seeing everybody that listens to the podcast and meeting people. I do have some skepticism about it, right? I mean, we've had this not, what I love about it is it's sort of like the best of talk radio in a lot of ways, and that is a proven successful model. It does require the people that are hosting the Blab to have some skills in at least being able to host, right? Otherwise, it's sort of unlistenable.
Never stopped us before.
Well, it hasn't stopped us before. That's true, and I'm a big believer in not having talent, but it's
demonstrate that every day, my friend.
You're so kind. Is that
You're
Mark?
Basically the
Mark W. Schaefer, author of But it's also a part of me that thinks that brands shouldn't do this. I mean,
Why?
We're not a brand. Well, I think it's fine to do in something like this. Like, I really want to communicate with people who listen to our podcast, but if I'm representing my brand, maybe I'm not so good at live, right? I mean, it is a real skill to be good at live. There's a reason why Ryan Seacrest works so hard and does so many shows. It seems like he has about 6 shows that he hosts because he's good live, right? It is a skill, it is a talent, and it's not necessarily a talent that a brand has in-house. Otherwise, it just becomes bad simultaneous chat roulette, if we remember chat roulette.
Well, here's the thing that I think is going to be exciting about this technology. And I think this is, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm as excited about this as when I first saw Twitter in 2008, 2009. And here's why. Because when the founders of Twitter, when they launched this platform, they could never imagine how this was going to be used. Today, hashtags organize people in conversations. It's creating revolutions. It's great for marketing research. It's the de facto second screen when people are viewing television. It's important for announcing news. It's dominating impacts on the presidential debates. No one could have seen that. And the innovation and power from Twitter comes from the people. Twitter didn't invent hashtags. Twitter didn't invent Twitter chats. People did. And the same thing is going to happen with this platform. There are so many ways. If you just, it's like scrolling through the channels to see what's going on. There are so many different ways already in the first month that people are using this. There's Blab groups to practice a foreign language. Awesome. There's people doing dance lessons and stuff on Blab.
Cooking
awesome.
shows. Yep.
So it's I think it's fascinating, and I think there's a lot of opportunity. So Jennifer, thanks so much for stopping by. Thanks for being a great fan and joining us on our first Blabpanion.
One of the things though about doing audio like podcasting is that it's theater of the mind, right? I mean, really great audio is truly theater of the mind. And now I think, unfortunately, many of our listeners can now put a face to our voices. And I'm worried about that, frankly.
But you're so well groomed.
I am very well groomed, and thank you for wearing clothes for this one.
I wore clothes and I took a shower, and I don't want it to go to waste.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
I get that. All right, then carry on.
It's a big day when I bathe. So, yes, Andy.
Mark, hello. Tom, hello. Thanks very much for having me on the show. I wrote about Blab last week, and I talked about the breaking the fourth wall. Fourth wall in acting. It's a no-no. You don't do that. You don't recognize the audience, and you stay within that bubble. So I'm using that, and I'm making that reference in the social sense that actually breaking through the fourth wall in social is desirable. It's a thing to do. And Blab is instantaneous engagement, right? There's always a preliminary step before you get to engagement on all of the other social channels. Twitter, you have to follow, then you have to investigate, and then you maybe have that breakthrough, right? You maybe have that engagement where it's basically two-way. You don't have to do any of that preamble on Blab. It's instantaneous. And the other, I think, interesting factor to this is, I've heard of Mark Schaefer. I don't know Mark Schaefer. now I'm actually on the screen with Mark Schaefer. I'm able to engage with folks like Mark, influencers, and we've never had that contact before. I think these are just some of the things that make this so goddamn addictive and social, being social rather than trying to be social.
Yeah, lovely points, really, Andy. I love this analogy of the fourth wall. Is it called the fourth?
Yeah, the fourth wall. Fourth
wall. Yeah, it's like the mechanism they use on House of Cards, and and I agree. And this is the thing that Tom and I, we've talked about this, is that we have amazing, connected, loyal, passionate fans. I mean, we have people who are binge listening to our podcast, but we're not connecting. People don't leave comments on a podcast.
Yeah, so that's the thing I really regret about podcasting. Yeah. And I think this is something that really can contribute to that. I mean, we'll have a podcast and we'll feel like we nailed it, and we'll talk to people that we see at conferences, and they'll talk to us about it. But, the comments on the blog post where the podcast was first promoted, there might be 4 or 5. They don't draw as many comments as a blog post.
Yeah.
And so you can fool yourself into thinking that a podcast isn't engaging. And I think this does give an outlet for the engagement of podcasting. And podcasting is a wonderful way to reach that alpha audience that I think I read in a book.
Yeah. Very powerful concept. And I love this comment by Mark Edwards, and he's building on this conversation, and he says the smart brand can use this to put the right big shot directly in touch with their customers. And again, this is kind of what Andy was saying, is that look, I get a chance to see you and to talk to you instead of just reading your words. And I think, and this is something I emphasize in all my classes and all my speeches, that at the end of the day, the most human brand wins. How do we scale that? How do we connect people in those ways? So it's an interesting idea. So Andy, thanks so much for the very, very smart comment, and thanks for spending your time with us today. We really appreciate you.
Pleasure meeting you both. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
So
Mark Edwards.
Mark Edwards is coming on here.
He's beaming. He's beaming.
And I'd also like to again remind you that this is being recorded live. So if you get in the hot seat, you may end up being on our podcast. And please, we've got an empty seat here. Join in. Hit the little blue button to tell others that this is going on. We're going to be hanging out here for about another 20 or 30 minutes, and we'd love to hear from you. So
I have to, while we're waiting for Mark, my wife has just made a fascinating point in the comments. Tamadir, she says, "I wonder if the ability to see people's faces would temper the vitriol that many brands have faced in Twitter chats." Many of which haven't gone so well for brands. And I think that is a super, super point. I think
what
it is
a keen observation.
Very good observation.
Really love that. And I love the point, and I love the potential of that, because the thing that hurts me is that we treat people online differently than we treat people.
Yeah.
We treat people online differently than we treat people offline. And I know we wouldn't have this hate. It makes my heart hurt when I see how some of these comment sections turn into cesspools. We don't talk to people like that in the real world, and we should lift people up and be respectful. And I love that point, Tamsin, very much.
Well, I think in the written word, right? I mean, people can be very hostile, very harsh with each other, but I think everybody on this Blab right now knows that if you try and step to me, I'm going to go Trump on you. And you know that. You know that.
I would actually pay to see that. Yeah. Somebody do it. I would pay to see Tom go Trump on somebody.
I got all the words.
And Charlene, let's not hope. Nice. Let's hope it's not you.
Oh, I don't trump on people, and I don't pay people to trump on people.
Don't be you. Don't be that person, Charlene.
I am not that person.
So Charlene, we're delighted to see you. Thank you so much for stopping by. Do you have a comment or a question?
I do. I wanted to respond to the troll question. And some have been very fortunate and not experienced the trolls. I run a morning mindset program, have been doing that weekday mornings, 8 a.m. Eastern time. And it is up to the host to make the decision to let somebody into the room or not. And oftentimes you're taking a chance. And so there's a reason why we have an X in the box. And that is for the host to immediately remove a troll, because I have been trolled in that program. And so they are here. And I just simply want to shout out to everybody that just as on every other social media platform, when your ID is an avatar or an egg, you can pretty much rest assured we're not going to have a really good conversation, because I'm not going to welcome it. You're not welcoming to me. I'm not talking to a real person.
Unless you're an egg.
Unless you are an egg, yes.
And then your
comments should reflect that. If your comments reflect that, Tom, I might jump in.
Tom, thank you for standing up for eggs. I was going through the same thought.
I mean, maligned for years, right?
We're not going to allow this
product. There's actually a product called
Everybody needs an advocate, right?
Eaters.
Yeah.
Well, so then the other thing I wanted to say was that Mark's spot on, and I've been an advocate since I first started in social media years ago, is that the more human we can get, the less likely we're going to destroy each other. And that's why I love Blab, is because it's taken me and you and everybody else from behind the anonymity of a monitor or an ID name. And it doesn't take long to figure out whether or not you're going to be a good guy or a bad guy. That's as simplistic as I can put it. I've pretty much doesn't take long for me to decipher that you're a part of my inner circle, my second circle, or way out to pasture. I know.
Well,
I want to say a quick thing here, Mark, about about the difficulty of doing live. And the one thing, I'm a little skeptical about Blab in some circumstances. I'm not in this one because Mark and I get along so well in the real world. I know anytime I have a conversation with Mark that he and I are going to have a good conversation, and we're thrilled that people want to join in that conversation. But I've done a lot of work in my career in things like live radio. You know, if you've ever listened to the Elvis Duran show, which is a big syndicated morning show, I've done work on that. And a lot of the things that you think are live are in fact carefully produced. I hope I'm not bursting the bubble here. When they make a prank call, they actually made that prank call earlier in the day or the next or the previous day, and they have gone through a few failed ones before they've gotten one that came out right, and then they produced it, and then it comes out sounding like it's live, because the goal is not to do live. The goal is to be entertaining and engaging. And so I think remembering that as you're doing something like a Blab is also kind of important. Unless you're naturally engaging.
I know, but I'm really going to challenge it, Tom, because you know what? When we do our podcast, we do it in one take, and the comments that I get. I was in Denmark last week, and people were saying, "I love your podcast," and that Tom Webster is just so quick, and that's not pre-recorded. So I want to challenge you. I think you're going to do very well in this environment, and. Let's welcome. Well, the avatar is Green Sparrow, but I don't know the name. You don't know your name.
Certainly. Hi everyone, my name's Allie Kloster. I'm with Green Sparrow PDX, and PDX, of course, is the beautiful Portland, Oregon.
The beautiful Portland, Oregon. America's second Portland.
Absolutely right. Confidence is key, and you see it. You see the natural ability on camera and live streaming, and I think that's what people can't hide behind. Of course, people stutter and go over things, but I make bullet points and then I roll from there. If you can't run from the bullet points, maybe you shouldn't be talking about that topic necessarily. Mm-hmm. And I mean, practice makes perfect, but it's the natural intuition that comes out from people and is interesting to see too. But I think the relatability is huge for people to get to know you, and it's worth brands and businesses giving it a try.
Well, thanks so much for adding your comments, and we'd like to welcome Evan as well.
Hi there. How are you?
Evan,
Hi, Evan.
got a question or comment for us today?
Yeah, with two comments really. I think that Blab, as I put in the comments, is a trust accelerator, and I think that's its real power.
Whoa, I love that.
Is that
I love that.
the depth that you can get to quickly here? That's its real scale. So that I could spend a
kind of like bourbon.
And I like bourbon. And Tom, you had a beautiful woman in a big wide rimmed hat photobombing you a moment ago, which was awesome. I don't know if you saw that.
Sweet.
Yeah, that was cool.
I did. Yeah, I'm big into Delta. Delta loves me.
That's so cool. So, and I also would just get into thinking of it. I'm a musician, so I would think of it as a live performance. And the risk and beauty of a live performance is that things can go wrong. And the audience is captivated by that wire act a bit, and that's why live performance and music is what it is. So I think that Blab has a bit of that magic possible for people to really be engaging in this way, and it could go wrong. It's not the Elvis Duran show where it does feel scripted, even though it's like, it's supposed to be live. So,
dude, where have you been? How come we haven't connected before? I love the way you think.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It's why we haven't connected is because I had the wrong notion about social media until about 3 weeks ago. I had been on these platforms for a while. I had been a broadcaster and a quippy, this is so funny. Haha. Why aren't people liking it? And it really wasn't until, let's say, a month ago that I started engaging. And since I have, my life has changed. Well,
that's wonderful. Well, my friend, you are an original thinker, and we don't have enough of those around these days. So I hope that you'll engage and look for ways to connect with Tom and I in the future, because I love your comments today. Wonderful.
Cheers. I appreciate it. I'll follow you guys.
Yeah.
Cheers, Evan.
Have a good one.
And now we're going to welcome Ari. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
That is correct.
Yeah, Ari. And I want to also remind our other visitors today that we are recording this live. This may end up being a podcast episode. So if you get in the hot seat, you may become part of the podcast. And also, I'd like to remind you to click the little blue button and tell others that things are happening. And thanks for all the good questions. Ari, where are you calling in from today?
I'm in the heart of Mississippi, actually, today. So I'm in the home of Elvis, if anybody knows where that is.
That is the thickest Mississippi accent I've ever heard in my life.
I know. It was a dead giveaway to me.
Dead giveaway.
It's not exactly a Mississippi. I'm more from where Mark was last week, up in the northern part of Europe, up in Scandinavia. That's where I come from. But
So what, do you have a question or comment for us today?
Well, first of all, thank Mark and Tom for having me on. And my comments is related to what I deal with primarily is the hotels and what we see on Blab, which is such a brilliant channel versus what Twitter was. Twitter has been as a notion that where we particularly seen this as a customer service channel. What we see now with the potential with Blab, what we brings in is more the customer experience. It takes it to another level, because on Twitter, typically when we see hotels interact with the customers or the guests, is that they direct them to a DM or the discussion goes beyond the Twitter handle. It doesn't happen on the stream. What we see here as a potential on Blab, that now you can have the conversation and the response if there is a concern or something that's happening on the hotel on directly with the people that actually can take action and resolve the concern for the customer in real time. And that, to me, that's just an amazing opportunity for a hotel to be in or part of that. So that's my comments.
Yeah.
And
that's a super point. And the one thing I would say to that is, if you are a hotel that already has a pretty good relationship with the people that are engaged with it, a pretty good relationship with its customers, right? I'm a Hilton Honors member, have been for a long time. If I would not have a problem hosting a Hilton Blab, right? But if you are the Lord Baltimore Hotel for Transients and Grill, and you have one eyeball in TripAdvisor, you might want to not do a Blab. Right. I mean, there has to be some cutoff where this is actually harmful to you, and you've got to get your house in order before you just hop on and Blab. Otherwise, you're going to be hitting that little red X a lot.
Yeah. All right, wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and Matt. Hey, Matt. Matt Sherman.
Hey, yes. Matt.
Nice to see you, man.
Yeah, nice to see you too. How is your day going?
I'm having a marvelous day. I really am.
Good.
And I'm flying, so no, not so much.
I feel that.
No.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick comment. It might be a question or a comment, but I've been on air for about 2 weeks, and for the first week, I consider myself pretty knowledgeable about marketing. So I thought the only way I could contribute to Blab is to go into the marketing lab and just value. And I'm finding in the past week, the conversations I enjoy more are when it's more like intellectual and it's more just talking about anything. And I think that. A tip for anyone watching is that, like, although marketing might be your thing, definitely take a chance and explore the other realms of Blab that are intellectual. And I think that's when I made the closest friends that I had on Blab. Like, I think Blab is a great opportunity to create networks and to meet people and to make friends. And I think that the people that just stay in the business realm, like, that's it. That's great. If you have value to provide, but I would challenge you to, like, go elsewhere into, like, the leadership realm, into the entrepreneur realm, into this tech realm. So I think I've hit my horizons once I've done that. So I just that's kind of what I found. Even though I've only been on here for a little bit, it's like it's something that I've found.
Nice. Tom and I both talked a little bit about this. We have a lot of fun on our podcast, but both of us kind of have a little bit of an introvert side. We probably tend toward introvert, and we enjoy small conversations, dinner conversations. I'm not comfortable in big crowds. I go to conferences, I speak at conferences, and I'm very privileged to do that, and I have a lot of fun. But this is what I love. I love having small conversations like this, in a small group. So this, like I said, I'm excited by this. This fits me a lot more than, like I said, Periscope or something where it's me. I like learning and engaging with other people. So Matt, awesome comment.
I think Matt brought up something I think really, and thank you, Matt, something really super fascinating about Blab that I guess I hadn't considered. When you write a blog post, you have someone's attention for a few minutes as they skim it, right? And that's a giant part of your audience. When you do a podcast, you have someone's attention for half an hour, and that's a smaller part of your audience, that part of your audience that's willing to devote a half an hour straight to your content. But when you do a Blab, you are now getting to an even smaller subset of that is willing to devote a period of time live, right? They're willing to actually take time out of their day to spend 30 minutes or an hour with you. And maybe it behooves the blabber to go deeper, to not just have kind of small talk, right?
Yeah.
This is actually a fantastic place to go as deep as you'd like to go on a topic, certainly as deep as I would like to go at times when I talk about things. So that's a great point.
One of the ideas I have actually is sometimes, like in the last couple of weeks, I've put out some very provocative blog posts that I'm really proud of, and I'd love to have a conversation like this to hear what people think about that. So that's one of the ideas I might have in my mind. And then wouldn't it be cool to embed that conversation at the end of the blog post? So if people really are interested in it, they could see a conversation about this idea. So that's one of the ideas I'm thinking about of how to use it. And hello to Brad, love it, a wonderful dear friend here in Knoxville. It's great to see you, buddy.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Tom. Great to be here. This is the first time I've ever jumped in on Blab to even know what it's all about. So thought I'll try anything once, and that's what I'm doing.
Do you have a question or comment, or are you just like swimming today?
Well, I'm enjoying it. Of course, enjoy the podcast as well, and both Mark and Tom. And I've got a radio background myself, and have been on the air and tried a few what I would call social media remotes on Periscope, which were fun. But
cool.
Once you get past the hearts, not sure what the deal. Interested definitely to find out what this can do for networking and some of the things Twitter, like Mark said, used to do. Yeah. And maybe even if there's a use in the travel and tourism industry, which I'm in.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Well, good seeing you, man. And let's say hi to Julian. Julian, where you calling in from today?
I'm actually from Cardiff in the UK, but I'm currently on holidays in Spain, nice. So I'm enjoying myself. A little bit different to Brad. I'll try anything twice, so we'll have a go at that. But for me, I've been on Blab now for only a couple of days, and I think the great thing for me is that, as you guys probably know, we're drowned in information, but we're starved of knowledge. And I think Blab allows people to come together for purpose and not power. But also, you can get a feeling for the people and to see whether it's it's substance or not spin. But ultimately, we're all trying to make our own boats go faster. And there's a lot of people on here allowing this to happen. I've hosted my first Blab yesterday, and I've also taken part in many quality discussions, which, the level of conversation is very high. So it allows people to learn from others. Ultimately, you can't row a boat by nodding your head on a webcam, but you need to take the knowledge you've learned from these superb Blabs and take parts of that and put it into your own business. And I think that's where Blab for me already has made a difference. I've made some great friends. One thing it has done is made my Twitter increase dramatically over 4 or 5 days. And I hope it's because, I'm talking common sense. And I think we'd all agree, unfortunately, common sense isn't very common anymore. So it's great to get on these platforms and talk to people and really just share ideas and share philosophies and cultures and beliefs. And I think Blab's a great way to do it. And I agree with you. Periscope for me is too one-dimensional. I couldn't sit on Periscope for 10 minutes just pointed at me and what I do, and it's not me. Whereas Blab allows you to sort of be part of 4 squares, which ultimately you can have a good time with.
I love your very intelligent and passionate comments, Julian. And by the way, Cardiff is one of my favorite places, so I hope to get back there again soon. Every time I've been in Wales, I think 4 times in the last 3 years, and I always feel like I'm just going back home when I'm in Wales. So I want to get back there again soon and see all my friends in Wales again. Hopefully we can catch up live again. Thanks, great comments.
No worries.
Thanks, Julian. I am also of Welsh extraction. I don't know when I was extracted from there, but I'm generally Welsh. And as I'm looking at the squares on the screen, it strikes me that Blab would make an awesome game show.
Yeah,
we should do a marketing companion.
And it probably will. It probably will. They'll figure out a way to do it.
We could do the whole Gene Rayburn from Match Game thing. When I'm making whoopee, I think about blank. Ronald, when you're making whoopee, you think about blank.
Ronald. That is the best setup you are ever going to have, man. So make the most of it.
Come on now.
Well, first of all, thank you guys. I'm a big fan of you, Mark. Tom, is great hearing you as well. My first Blab. This is my first one, so I just let me just jump in. Let me give it a shot. I took one of your suggestions from one of your viewers and kind of just writing a little bullet point, just to for you can remember your point and not deviate from it. But going on to Blab, my comment will be that I think it has so much potential because it allows you to bring your community to life. And just like one of your I think it was Evan, your past speaker, mentioned, that it's also a trust accelerator. But I feel that a lot of people are hesitant to even jump on is because you're kind of giving up control. It's no longer that you're going into a lecturing room and the room is very passive and that's it. It's just with this one, with Blab, it's I guess it gives you the possibilities to create different products, Q&As, or create MVP products, and you could get instant product feedback from whatever you're creating. Like I was just thinking to myself, what's a good way to use this technology? And I'm currently reading the launch book by Jeff Walker. And what about creating a product or even just asking feedback from your audience? Hey, listen, this is what I'm trying to do. Should we create a product with this? Gather a few different, thought leaders and influencers and see if you can create something of value to a certain community or something like that. So I'm just thinking about there's different, possibilities and just kind of picking your minds and, just seeing where it's going.
Yeah, I love your comment about really the vulnerability. And I mean, it's crossing my mind right now because we've had maybe 9 or 10 people stop by and contribute so far. And of the 9 or 10 people, I've known only maybe 2 of them pretty well. And so I don't know where they're coming from. And, but so there is a kind of a trust factor and a vulnerability because, we are kind of recording this, and, Tom and I, we'd like to have fun and great conversations, but we're also business professionals. And it's important to me to keep this on a very, professional and kind level. But it is kind of going through my mind like, okay, what's coming next? It's dangerous.
Yeah, definitely.
It's dangerous. Yeah.
It's dangerous.
And the Marketing Companion Blab is brought to you by Delta. Delta Airlines. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be great. Hey, Ron, awesome. Thank you, man. And thanks for reading the content code book. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah.
All right, take care. Yeah.
That was a long answer to my when you're making whoopee, you think of blank match game question, but it was really good.
Well, I don't. Yeah. I just got to. My mind is just spinning in so many directions right now that I got to move on to the next
Mark, how you doing?
Yeah. Hello.
Quick question for Mark and Tom. Everybody's like, okay.
Now, introduce yourself here.
Nazim from the. I'm an expat living in Milan, Italy.
Okay. Hey, Nazim.
Nice meeting everybody. Everybody's like the bandwagon of Blab, and it's huge and everything, but I consider it to be an extra instrument to the whole arsenal of Periscope, Meerkat, and even still Google Hangouts. As much as everybody says, "Oh, it's dead," because I think you can still use Google Hangouts to do webinars and stuff like that, and companies are using it in very interesting ways. What about Facebook down the road? What's going to happen there? What do you guys think is going to happen?
Well, look, Facebook has a lot more people, a lot more resources, and a lot more money than Blab. And I think, what's the end game for Blab? Do they have intellectual property that they can protect? Is Facebook going to create something to compete with them to do just as well? Are they going to buy them? I mean, who knows? I mean, this Facebook is a very, very powerful company with a lot of resources, and if there's something hot out there, and there's a way to sell some ads through it, Facebook's gonna figure it out. What do you think, Tom?
Well, I think they have a pretty good history of buying things like Blab, making them disappear in essentially an invisible part of Facebook's service, right? I mean, they did that with Gowalla, and now all that check-in technology is just part of Facebook, right? They eventually ate all that. And you have to look at things like Microsoft's purchase of Skype, Google developing Google Hangouts, and Facebook needs a dog in that fight as well. So I think Blab has certainly staked a claim to perhaps being that dog.
Nazim, you make a really interesting comment also about Google Hangouts, because the thing that's been kind of amusing to me is that people seem to be embracing this new platform, but essentially what you're doing here is a Google Hangout. In many respects. I mean, there's some cool little features to it. It's a lot easier to use, quite frankly. But it's really interesting how this is evolving and how timing and positioning play such an important role. I mean, the biggest issue with Google is, they're a wonderful, innovative company with amazing products, and they don't know how to market them. They don't know how to position them.
That's a very good point. And also the customer service on Google's part is totally out of, as opposed to Blab, where they're always present and they come into forums and they're talking with you, which is easier for a small company to do than a bigger company, obviously. Yeah. But I totally agree with you on that. Anyway, thanks for having me join in for the questions.
Thanks, my friend. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care. Have a good time in Milan. So, Tom, what is it about the timing and the positioning here? How come? Why are people so interested in this? I mean, we heard Mike Stelzner say that he's addicted to this. Why weren't people addicted to Google Hangouts?
Well, that's a really good question. And I think some of that comes down to user experience. I think some of that comes down to just how much social is baked into Blab. But again, I will say this. I love Blab for what we're doing right now, and I can see us doing this again. Is Is Blab a sustainable product? Absolutely, I think it is. Is doing a regular Blab sustainable for you? That's something you really have to think about. That's something you really have to think about. And I think, we've done 58 episodes of the podcast. So, I'd like to think there's been some pent up demand by people to engage. So I think, it's, I would call this a very successful Blab. And, do you sustain that over time in some kind of a regular thing? I think these are all things you have to think about well in advance and kind of plan the arc of this just as you would plan the arc of anything else.
I think at the end, it's all going to get down to the content. Is your content interesting? Is it original? Is it compelling? And that's really what's going to sustain person, a brand, or a conversation on this or any other platform. I mean, if I didn't push myself to really create original, interesting new ideas on my blog would die. I mean, there's just so much pressure today that the idea of creating conversations and creating original ideas, I think that's more important than ever. And also, I think the entertainment value too is going to be a big word as we go forward.
Yeah.
So I think we're winding down here, and I think Tom probably has a flight to catch. And I just
love airports. I love the food.
Yeah.
I love people.
Everything about it. Yeah.
So I just I come here and I like to just it's like a mental sorbet for me.
Yeah. Newark.
The Newark of airports.
It's I think there's no other word other than romantic.
I think so. And like a real classical romance too, not like a 50 Shades stuff.
Especially, and I'm really digging how they're now changing the colors of the duct tape on the carpeting on the floor. Mm-hmm. They're going the extra mile. What can I say? So airports, on that note, hey everyone, thanks so much. Thanks to the sponsors of our podcast, Voices Heard Media. Oh yeah, I wish. G-Shift up in Toronto. Check out some of their new products. We're so happy. Thanks for coming here. We had a lot of people stopping by today. Thanks for all your participation, your great questions. I love this. The first marketing Blab Panion. And we'll see you next time. We'll certainly think about doing another one of these in the future. Thanks so much, and Tom and I really appreciate all your support and being great listeners, passionate fans of the Marketing Companion.
Absolutely. Cheers, everyone.
Now I got to figure out how to turn this off.
Well, there's something else I want to say that's really important.
Thanks, everyone, and thanks, Tom. Take care.